What's up, guys? It's your boy Chris here. I'm just gonna let you know right now, this video is gonna be kind of long, so strap in. We're gonna be here for a minute. Um, I, you don't want to keep talking about shit like this happening, but it keeps happening. Obviously, I'm referring to the events in Uvalde, Texas, at Robb Elementary School, where 19 children and two teachers were gunned down in another mass shooting in the United States. Another mass shooting in the United States. Right after, we're 2 weeks from Buffalo happening. 1 week. I don't even know if they happen so fucking much at this point. That it's frustrating to constantly see this shit happening. There are many things that need to be talked about here. There are a ton of them. Obviously, the big one is guns. Look, it needs to be said at this point because no one's getting it. Our gun laws need to change in this country. Point blank, they need to change. The AR-15, which was the weapon of choice in this situation, is a weapon of war. Its sole purpose is killing its target. Guns in general, their sole purpose is killing their target. But this gun in particular is a weapon for soldiers in combat. It's not meant for the average citizen to own a fucking assault rifle. It's not. Okay? It's not. This is ridiculous at this point. And it's ridiculous that this keeps happening. 19 kids dead. This is after Sandy Hook, where I can't even remember the number of them, but we're like 10 years away from that shit having happened. 10 years ago, Sandy Hook happened, and nothing got done. 10 years. How many fucking shootings have we had happen since then? And we've done nothing. And now another 19 after Parkland? We've had grocery stores shot up. Walmart shot up. And before anybody says it, the good guy with the gun argument, spare me that bullshit, because there have been situations where the good guy with the gun was there, and either they didn't act, which I'm going to get to in a second, or they did act and they still got killed. So the good guy with the gun argument, let's just throw it out the fucking window, because it's not a thing. It's not. When the cops arrive, and again, like I said, I'll touch on that if they decide to do anything at all, arrive in a situation where there's an active shooter and there's gunfire being exchanged, no one's going to know who's who, so guess what? Everybody's getting fucking shot. Innocent people are getting caught in the crossfire. You have to explain that. Like, no one's gonna. Our gun laws need to change. The Second Amendment was written at a time where we were using fucking muskets. Muskets. We now have rapid fire handguns. The Constitution is a living document that's meant to evolve over time as we evolve, as science evolves, as technology evolves, as mankind evolves. Hence why the amendments exist in the first place. They didn't put everything in the fucking document and they said, oh, we gotta address this thing. So they wrote the amendments. That's why they fucking exist. We need to change our laws to fit the times we live in. Period. If you don't understand that, I don't know what to fucking tell you other than go reread the shit. Go reread the document. It's a living document. It's meant to change with us. And it needs to change so that this stops happening. Which leads me to the other thing. The politicians. I'm going to touch on like our national politicians or our actual government in a second. But I'm going to touch on the politicians in Texas in particular. Because the governor down in Texas basically made it easy for everybody to get a gun, no permit needed. So, Greg Abbott, this shit falls directly in your fucking lap. Directly on you. That's why Bitter Rick called your ass out. And that's why you got all butthurt. But their blood of these kids is directly on your fucking hands. Because you allowed it. Your government did that. You did this. You made it so there's no background checks needed, you fucking dummy. So that's on you. This kid worked at McDonald's and was able to get 2 assault rifles. 2! Enough ammo to do what he did. Hundreds of shots fired. Because you made it easy for everybody in your state to get access to these fucking guns. That falls on you. That's your failed leadership. That's one part of this. The other part of this is our politicians in D.C. who won't do anything about this. This has happened how many times? And none of them have done anything. None of them. On either side. Because they're too scared and they have the balls to stand up to the NRA or they're in their fucking pockets. How many more times do we have to watch this happen? How many more parents should we see crying on television about their kid having to bury their child? How many? And I told you, I'm pissed. And I'm sorry if I'm yelling and screaming. I don't know what else to do. You know, I've got a stepson. I got a text message from my wife yesterday. Hey, have you checked on my stepson? I'm like, no. And my mind immediately went to, oh shit, did something happen at school? Should I have checked on him? And I'm like worried. And it was because there was a tornado warning. But my mind automatically went to the worst case thing. Like, oh my God, was there a shooting at Glen Burnie High School? So I start looking at news while I'm at work. Like thinking, oh shit, did something happen at the school? Like, that's the world we live in with our kids. One of my friends, John Draper, he was talking about this on his show, Break the Apocalypse. Check them out. It's, like, worth it. He talked with his kid about they're teaching kids in New York to find something to throw at a shooter? What the fuck? That's the answer? Politicians on the right, we should arm teachers because they don't have enough to fucking worry about, have to buy their own fucking supplies, having to worry about you taking books away or firing them for doing right by a kid who happens to be LGBTQ plus or something like that. and all this other stuff. And now you want them taking firearms classes? That's your answer? Lock the doors, make it one way in, one way out? Which is a fucking fire hazard, you fucking morons. But that's your answer? Put armed guards there? Because we've seen armed guards get fucking mowed down in active shooter situations within the past 2 weeks. So that doesn't work. The answer is changing our gun laws. The answer is banning assault weapons. We did it once, and mass shootings went down drastically. We lifted the ban, and they've skyrocketed. It's simple math, folks, and it's not that hard to do. So the politicians are our politicians. At this point, if you're not going to do something, fucking get out of the way for people that will. Because this shit's it's tiresome. It's frustrating. It's rage-inducing. As you can see, I'm yelling at 10, 11 in the morning, East Coast time, but I don't give a fuck because I'm angry. And I've sat back and I've talked with my boy online, my buddy Rick, and we've gone back and forth dude, what the fuck? What the fuck? At the responses of some of these politicians. How is that your response to this? The guy whose wife, the teacher that died, and then her husband died, basically had a massive heart attack after his wife got killed. They've been together for 30 years. That's not just a heart attack, that's fucking heartache. Seeing a father hold the picture of his daughter on CNN, breaking down about his baby. We've got to do something about this. This has to be the last one. It has to be. And now to the main event, the police in this situation. And full disclosure, I'm coming at this from the standpoint of having a very close family member who worked in law enforcement for 28 years. Particularly, he spent quite a bit of time on the quick response, TAC-QRT, Tactical Quick Response Team here in Baltimore City, aka our version of SWAT. So, there was a situation here that happened with a guy named Joseph Palczynski in Baltimore County. I think it was Essex or something like that, where he was holed up in a house for 10 days with his ex-girlfriend's family or something. And I remember talking to him about it, and he said, if they'd have called us in, he's out. We would have had him out of there in 10 minutes. Fuck 10 days. We don't play that. If there's shots fired, it ain't time to wait. So the cops in this situation, just based on my experiences with law enforcement, completely and abjectly failed to do their fucking jobs. And every one of them that failed their job that day should be fired. They should lose their badges. They don't deserve their badges. They're cowards. Straight up. These cops are cowards. These particular cops are cowards. And I have no problem saying that. Again, I have family that worked law enforcement. Very close family that worked law enforcement. 28 years in Baltimore City. So this ain't a place where we play. Where the law enforcement plays like that. So yeah, that's why I say that. And he worked in some of the most tense situations, some of the hardest areas of the city to work in his time in law enforcement. So I don't know what to tell you. This guy was outside the school for 12 minutes and no one engaged him because he'd already fired shots before he even went into the school. That should have been it right there. He should never gotten into the school. And then the fact that they were waiting for an hour to go into the room, like, what the fuck are you doing? There's shots fired. You don't wait. You go in. You act. Period. Especially when it's kids. If an officer on the scene tells you to stand down, you disobey that order. They're kids. You could have saved kids. Your failure to do so cost some kids their lives. Period. Didn't have to happen. Shouldn't have happened. There's no excuse for it. None. Everyone in law enforcement that's talking about this on television is like, why the fuck did they wait so long? We don't understand this. Because these cops were scared. Which goes back to my original point about gun reform. Gun law reform. If the cops are too scared to confront somebody with the AR-15, that should tell you something. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they're too scared to confront a guy with an AR-15, then there's no reason for me or my neighbor or anybody else walking around that's not military or law enforcement to have those weapons, because they're not necessary for us, the average civilian, to be carrying them. They are weapons of war. Period. End of discussion. End of argument. And I can't wait for some gun nut to comment on my video. And I'm telling you right now, if you bring up the good guy with the gun versus bad guy with the gun, I'm going to eviscerate you in the comments. If you say anything to defend like gun laws in this country, I'm going to eviscerate you in the comments. I'm letting you know right now. Everywhere I post this. It's going on Twitter. It's going on my YouTube. And I'm telling you, if you try to defend our gun laws in America, and you try to make it a mental health issue, and just mental health, or about video games, or about barring doors in the school, or all this other dumb shit, you're going to get eviscerated in the comments, because I'm coming for you. I'm done with this. I'm done being nice about it. And it's time that everybody got just as mad as I am and fucking acted. And the way we act with our fucking ballots. Because if the politicians won't address this, the ones we have in office won't address it, we need to put ones that will in. Period. It's as simple as that. If they won't act, we do. And we act by replacing them with politicians who will change this shit so this stops happening. Regardless of political side. If they're Republican and they agree with that we need to change shit, so be it. They're Democrats and they agree we need to change shit for the better and change these laws so this stops happening, so be it. They're independent, so be it. Because the ones we have won't. And if they won't do what we want them to do, and which 90% of the country wants, by the way, 90% of the country wants this gun laws changed so this stops happening. If they won't do what 90% of the country wants, and the 10% are holding us hostage, then we vote out that the 90% of us need to vote the people out so our representation is done. Now, on to the mental health aspect of this. No shit. Anybody who goes into a school and shoots it up has some issues. That goes without saying, and I don't think that needs to be glossed over. It needs to be really discussed. Clearly, he has mental health issues. That's a part of it, but it's not the part of it that needs to be focused on right now. Why do I say that? I say that because apparently, based on talking with people who were friends with him, he was bullied. He was acting out. He had threatened to do something to his elementary school at one point when he was in school before he graduated. So there were signs there. Mental health was cut in his state. Greg Abbott cut the mental health funding. So if it's really about mental health, why was the funding for it cut? Why were there no resources to get him help? because there was no funding for it, because the governor cut the funding for mental health by $2.4 billion. So that money went to something else stupid that he didn't need to do. So clearly, Greg Abbott didn't give a fuck about mental health. He cares now that it did because it looks bad on him. He gives a shit now that this happened, and he can try to use it as a weapon to not address the real problem, which is the guns. Because the problem is the guns. But mental health, obviously, an issue, but not the main issue. And we are not going to allow that to become the talking point. It's not happening this time. It was the guns. It was his ability to access firearms that allowed this to happen. If he had to go through a background check, they may have found out that, I don't know, he had a juvenile record of violence. That, I don't know, he was like murdering cats. I don't know. That he had already made threats to do something like this before. This stuff would have got found out and he wouldn't be able to get those guns and these kids don't get killed. It's as simple as that. But again, Greg Abbott cut mental health funding and cut out the need to get a background check to get a gun in his state. So it falls on him. This is his failing just as much as those cops that didn't have the balls to do their job and go in and get him and stop this. So you've got Governor Dipshit and pussy-ass cops in this case. Again, not calling all cops pussies because they're not. Again, I know cops. I know a lot of cops. I know a lot of good ones. I know a lot of brave men and women who put on that uniform every day. So this is not me bashing the law enforcement. I'm bashing these cops. So don't get it twisted. I know good cops. And I support those cops. 1,000%. They put on that badge every day and they do a job that's impossible. But on this day, in this situation, the cops in that area of that school all failed, except for the ones that violated the order and went in and acted. There were like 2 cops that said, nah, fuck this, we gotta roll in there and do something. Those 2 cops, they got balls. They did what you're supposed to do in that situation. I hope they don't get in trouble for that. But the rest of these cops that were tasing and macing and handcuffing parents who were begging them to do something, all of them should be thrown off the force. All of them should lose their benefits. All of them should lose everything. They should lose their jobs. They should lose their badges. They should hang their heads in fucking shame for their failure in that situation. Because as much as the blood of these kids on Greg Abbott's hands, it is also on theirs for not acting. It is also on the hands of these politicians who don't want to act. Sandy Hook should have been it for this shit. Sandy Hook should have been it when those kids in that school got killed. That should have been the last one of these. 10 years later, it's still happening. It is inexcusable in a country as great as ours that we can't get our shit together to stop this. Inexcusable. Unacceptable. Without going too much more into this, obviously my heart goes out to these parents. I cannot imagine the pain and heartache that they are feeling right now. I can't. I don't have kids. I got my stepson. I got my godsons. I got my nephew. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't be able to comprehend something happening to them like this. And they're not even my actual kids. So I can't, but I love them like they're my own. I can't imagine what they're going through or the pain and heartache that they're feeling. Nobody in life should ever have to bury their child. Nobody should ever have to bury their child. It's something that, and these kids had their whole lives ahead of them, you know? Hearing the stories about them, hearing the dreams they had, the things they wanted to do with their lives, they were lights in this world that could have done something. They had the potential to be something good. And it got snuffed out because so many people failed them. So many people failed them. The generations before ours failed. Our generation might be failing them. I don't know. But we gotta do something different, man. We gotta change this. We need to stop seeing this happen. Because, like I said, I have one of my best friends, my boy Rick. He's got two little boys, and I have friends who have little young children. I've got, like I said, I've got godchildren. I've got a nephew. I've got cousins who just had kids, and I'm afraid for those kids when they get school age. I'm afraid for the ones I know that are in school now. So, like I said, this is the time. And for anyone saying, like, don't politicize this, if not now, when? Don't make it political. Why the fuck not? It's a political issue. There's never going to be a time to not politicize something like this. So we might as well address it now. And for people like Ted Cruz, who ran like a bitch when confronted about this, yeah, we see you, Ted. We saw you run. You're a coward, too. This is exactly the time to talk about this. Exactly the time to politicize it. Because we're in that moment. Because it just happened. Because if we don't now, it never gets addressed. It gets swept under the rug, and then everything goes on like nothing ever happened, and it eventually gets forgotten about, and they move on to something else. Not this time. Not this time. Not here. This one has got to be different. It has to be. This has to be where things change because it cannot go on like it's been going on. Things cannot continue like this. They cannot. And on that note, and I've gotten that out of the way, I am going to talk about something a little bit happier to end this with because this was a depressing ass video to make. I just, it's going to be off topic from what I've been talking about, but I've got to talk about it because I just finished it. Um, Part one of Stranger Things, I liked it. It was good. I did not see a lot of twists coming in it were really cool. I liked it. So those are my thoughts on that. And I'm not going to spoil the territory, obviously, because everybody probably hasn't watched it yet. But I liked it, so check it out. Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, also saw that a couple weeks ago. Didn't really get a chance to talk about it, but I really liked it. Um, uh, my girl Wanda better come back. That's all I got to say. They better bring Elizabeth Olsen back. They gave us some things we wanted to see in very funny ways. They gave us some things that we did not expect to see in very funny ways. Uh, I liked it. It was real cool. The effects were really cool. I liked seeing my boy Wong get some time. Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange is awesome. Chiwetel Ejiofor is Mordo, great. Elizabeth Olsen is Scarlet Witch. Holy shit. That's all I'm going to say. Holy shit. So good. I think at some time in the next week, I'm going to go see Top Gun Maverick because gotta. So that's pretty much it. Life update. I started my new job on Monday. So far, I like it. It's not in the financial world, so I'm happy. It's really cool. I'm in the medical field in a way, in medical billing, and I enjoy it. It's relaxing. It's peaceful, not as hectic. So I'm digging it, and it pays more than my other job did. So those are. Just want to touch on those things real quick. But to end this on a happier note, because that initial topic was heavy as fuck, and I don't want to. I don't want to be such a downer, but this shit need to get called out. Shit we're seeing happening need to get called out, need to be addressed, and need to have that dealt with. Anyway, I'm gonna end this video here. Shout out to Wrestling Soup, my boys Mish and Joey, Break the Apocalypse, John, and happy birthday, Sha, by the way. I know that's coming up. Happy birthday to you, my man. The legendary Kevin Castle, Don Tony, Solo Monster. I think RBR Weekly Wrestling Talk, Bob Seska, Buzz Burbank, Jody Hamilton from the Bunker podcast, David T Rex. I'm probably forgetting a bunch of other people that I just shot in this. Like I said, my mind's all over the place because this was a tough one to get through. If I forgot anybody, I'm sorry. To my boys, Rick, Keith, Joe, Money, I love you guys. Matt, forgot Matt. To my wife, Nora, you are the light that keeps me going through stuff like this. Thank you for always being in my corner in this endeavor that I'm doing with these videos, even though you probably don't watch them. Comics Explained, Geek Culture Explained, Rob Jefferson. Love you, man. Dude, seriously, I need a Rob Core ring. Hook a brother up. Seriously, I need one. Like, just hit me up. I'll buy. I need one. I don't know how to get one, but I need one in my life. Got to. Anyway, I'm gonna end it there because just a lot. There's a lot in this one. If you have kids or a step parent, tell those kids you love them every day. Let them know you love them. Let them know. Any kid in your life know you care about them. Because if things don't change, you may not always have that time to do that. Let them know before it's too late. If you're a kid out there, let your parents know you love them before it's too late. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Peace.